Fala pessoal, PDK aqui, trazer mais vídeo pra vocês. Então vamos lá, rapaziada, vamos continuar. Consegui o mouse, tirei o mouse ali, bem levinho, tô gostando por enquanto. Então vamos lá, com ele eu
Office
poder
of the
usar.
Medical Examiner, Petersville. Dr. Jack Hadman is speaking. How can I help you?
Good evening, this is Kate Brooks. I'm not sure if you remember me. A few weeks ago, we talked about an article I'm working on. It's about your wife. I dropped by last Friday to speak to you, but
Só,
you
rapaziada, então
weren't
deixa o
working at
like
the
aí, se inscreve no
time.
canal,
I
compartilha
asked the security
e é
guard to
nóis,
pass
hein?
on a note for me. I would like us to discuss the topic of...
Fechou?
I thought I had
Vamos
made
que vamos.
it painfully obvious for the last time. No! Please don't call me again and stop inquiring about my wife.
Tá nervoso, tá nervoso.
Damn journalists. They don't let me work. God damn it. I'm not in the best frame of mind to record a lecture for my students now. I'm feeling completely broken. Where did I leave my meds this time?
Então vamos lá, rapaziada. Então aqui é a utopia, né? Deixa eu ver se eu consigo melhorar. Ok.
They definitely pay me too little for this. Stephen didn't clean up
Ele
after
fuma.
himself. Again. He won't be needed for the next few months.
Fecha essa janela aqui. Boa. Sei lá, né? Vem um bicho-papão aí. Você sabe, né? Acessibilidade, peraí. Um whisky ali. Ó, Jack Daniel. O cara bebe Jack Daniel, vai, pô. Vamos lá. Aqui tem um chá.
Awful. It would be good to finally repair the coffee machine. Wednesday. It's not
Calendário.
my favorite day.
Dia 21 de
Although it's certainly better
1991.
than Monday.
É 21 de novembro.
I guess it was in another life.
Esse aqui é a ex dele, ex-mulher. Aqui, apago, acende a luz. Deixa apagado. Ah, tem alguma coisa. Ah, um batom. Qual o nome? Pablon. Tá, vamos ver se a gente acha mais alguma coisa pra cá.
Not very comfortable, but suitable for night shifts.
Eu tenho que ajeitar o DPI desse jogo.
Medical University Diploma.
Universidade de
I
Medicina,
didn't know then that I
título.
would prefer corpses to living people.
Peguei
Pathology.
mística.
How to combine the hands of a surgeon, the
Cirurgião.
passion for a good mystery, and an exceptionally strong stomach.
Tem alguma coisa aqui pra gente? Não, né?
Another kidnapping this month.
Sequestro.
Archives. Just as lifeless as the corpses they concern.
Tá, vamos lá fora agora. Deixa eu ver isso aqui.
But the word is, the lab will be
Não
open
abre.
tomorrow.
Isso aqui abre. Banheiro. Uma escovinha de criança. É bom ir passa no cabelo da criança, né? Parece muito. Buscar a pasta de urbano. Vamos ver.
Okay, time to pull myself together
Ah, isso aqui é remédio que ele toma.
and get back to work.
Voltar ao trabalho. Então tá.
I need to set the camera first.
Atrás da câmera. Vamos atrás da câmera então.
Let's hope I'm not caught short this evening.
Aqui não abre. Tá em obra aqui, ó, cartonado.
I don't see any need to mess with the electrics. They are flaky enough as it is.
Tá bom, vamos lá. Ah, aqui. Deixa a câmera.
Now remember, Jack, don't forget, hit the record button this time.
Vamos levar essa câmera então. Será que tem como salvar? Deixa eu ver. Vamos lá, vamos ver.
Hopefully the new tripod is going to hold up.
Colocar no tripé.
Now, I just have to get everything in frame. This should be fine. November 20th, 1991. Time, 8:43 p.m.
Ok.
Recording for medical students from the University of Missouri. This autopsy is conducted by Jack Hanman. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the autopsy room. Today, you will have the dubious pleasure of following a full autopsy, step by step. For those of you who have already performed your first autopsy, this will refresh your basic knowledge. In turn, for those whose knowledge is only theoretical, I advise not to watch this after a meal.
Acho que agora ele vai ter que olhar a escritura aqui, ó.
Scalpel, scissors, syringe, magnifying glass, knife. I guess I forgot to clean the knife.
Cara novo.
Poor soul. I get cases like this more than any other. I wasn't sure it would amount to anything, but the World Wide Web has been a blessing for speeding up my work.
Deixa eu ver aqui. Ele e a mulher. Esse cara que eu tô jogando aqui. Ué,
It's been a while since the eye wash in this thing was changed. It's probably a health hazard now. Always wear an apron, mask, and gloves. Goggles are a
tá.
must when the job is splashy. And in case of sharp
Vou ter que colocar
accidents,
roupa,
it's worth having disinfectants at hand.
máscara,
It's true that you
óculos.
won't get ptomaine poisoning
Mas
straight
luva.
away, but if your liver or
Olha,
kidney
vamos
aren't doing
pôr.
well, you may end up with
Vou
diarrhea.
pesquisar ele, tirar foto e depois fazer a ciência.
Now, onto the police
Okay.
folder. That will contain all sorts of pertinent information as to who the deceased might be and what potentially happened to them. So, let's take a closer look, shall we? The deceased's name is Tobias
Onde ele
Chambers,
tá, com vale de 50
locally known
dólares.
as Old Toby. Homeless and unemployed for at least a couple of years. The
Aqui
deceased
foi
was
onde
found on
acharam
the
ele.
outskirts of a parking
Posto
lot
que
at a
ele
gas
tava.
station. where he often begged and persistently offered drivers to wash their car windows.
Aqui foi o corpo.
The body was noticed by a station employee during the morning shift. Initially, he thought that someone had thrown some boots and a coat in a nearby ditch. It took him a moment to recognize the pile of clothes as the body of a man. He worked most of his life at the local port dealing with unloaded cargo.
Os horários dele.
He was fired for being drunk and starting
Acho que é onde ele
fights.
trabalhava.
His son runs a hardware store on his own. His wife left him years ago. They both had no contact with the deceased. Signs of libation were found around the body. Empty bottles, traces of an inept attempt to start a fire, and a scattered makeshift blanket. That's it. It's worth remembering the context around the scene of a death. This allows you to better interpret any traces found on the body. I shouldn't start the procedure without gloves. Now it's our turn to take some pictures for our files. If I can just remember where I left the camera. Aha! There you are. I knew it was here somewhere. As I mentioned at the beginning, before we begin the internal examination, we need to document the cadaver and the condition it arrived in. We begin with a full body photo. Try and stick to the top-down rule, but this is not always possible. Let's keep in mind it's all about the legibility, not the perfect frame. Voila. Now we move on to the next step, looking for traces. Take your time. Look at the corpse from different sides, from different angles, up close, and from a distance. You're looking for anything out of the ordinary.
Agora a gente vai achar as doenças no dedo dele.
Some wounds in the feet and signs of frostbite, probably because the subject's shoes were too small. Hardened hands, worn out by physical work, and frostbite? That's something interesting. It will be necessary to check whether this injury was severe enough to cause damage to the brain.
Vai tomar uma paulada. Vamos dar uma olhada, vamos ver se a gente acha alguma coisa aqui.
The boiler healed wound. Looks old. I'll take a closer look
Cicatriz
later.
antiga.
In a moment, we will check which of our initial observations will be worthy of further consideration. But before we get to that, I need to write down some basic data.
Vou botar aqui no quadro. Leva ao autópsia.
It's been a while since the eye wash in this thing was changed. It's probably a health hazard now. Personal information.
Vamos ver aqui.
The
O
deceased was
dele.
unclothed. Date. Okay, as you can see, I note everything down on previously prepared forms. Every pathologist must keep a detailed record of every step of the autopsy. This not only allows you to track the procedure, but also collates the results together, upon which you may back up your
Homem
conclusions.
branco,
So,
mês
enough of the boring
175,
prep.
peso
Let's begin by
76,
taking a closer look at the spots I
62 anos,
photographed earlier.
Tobias
For this, you're going to need a magnifying glass.
Lá ele ali. Ai. Lupa.
Which spot first? It looks like a burn mark. No doubt painful,
Essa é uma marca
but
de
it's not
queimadura,
pertinent
né?
for this case. Here we can see frostbite on the fingertips. We can tell by the characteristic skin color.
Pra quem foi congelado. A mobile dele tá meio roxa. Tá bom, agora vamos ver a cabeça aqui.
I can confirm the presence of ecchymosis on the deceased man's head. The appearance indicates the intravital nature of the wound. Add alcohol, which I can clearly smell, and this was an accident just waiting to happen. Definitely a painful mix of frostbite, abrasions, and blisters. Old Toby had been wearing shoes too small for him for a very long
Aí,
time.
vamos ver.
That's if he wore any at all.
A unha dele tá feia, hein?
So far, there are a lot of superficial wounds, but only one serious injury to the head. Let's go back to our notes.
Ok? É recopilar.
First, I mark the location of the injuries and make notes for each one. So, even though this type of wound didn't contribute to the deceased's death,
entendi.
we're still required to record it. If Toby's body was cold for a prolonged period, the frostbite could have resulted from the body's defense reaction. The safety we're not in frost season yet, but high humidity, wind, and the inability to warm up can also be causes of frostbite. The head wound, definitely an important clue. This is something we'll investigate first. As you can see, we don't have much to go on. Let's write down what preliminary causes of death we can think of.
O que foi a causa da morte dele? Feridas antimal curadas. Homicídio?
This is of no interest to us. The nights have been particularly nasty lately. We will, considering the conditions in which he slept, various types of accidents are a common cause of death among the homeless and the
Congelamento,
elderly.
caída.
Perhaps old Toby slipped and accidentally hit his head. Since the deceased clearly smelled of alcohol, I'll add alcohol poisoning to our list.
Álcool.
We still have one thing left from the basics.
Tá, vamos pegar
Rigor
agora.
mortis. Well, we take our deceased by the hand, gradually re-raise it, Now let it go. As you can see, the hand falls loose. What's the conclusion? Death must have occurred more than 72 hours ago. The police information appears correct. Head trauma seems the most promising, so we'll start there. For this, I need an oscillating saw.
Vamos
The
ver
cut
agora.
is made from ear to ear.
Ui.
After which, we remove the skin and
Olha o
the top of
cérebro
the
aí, ó.
skull. After the basic examination, we can see that the brain's cerebral gyri in both hemispheres are symmetric. The brain looks good. Let's take a cross-section. Some pathologists prefer to examine organs without removing them. However, for me, it's much more convenient to examine them on a board, which we'll do now.
Vendo aqui.
Scalpel, scissors, syringe, magnifying glass, knife.
Vamos ver aqui.
I guess I forgot to clean the knife. My old but trusted centrifuge. Ideal for all the fluid tests I need to perform during an autopsy.
Aqui.
Holding a long, narrow blade knife in the dominant hand, we slowly cut the cranial nerves on both sides, all the time pulling the brain towards us. Pills. I need my pills. Pills. I need my pills. No. No. Everything is... I can't do it without the pills. My head. Oh, I can't think straight.
Ui.
Pills. Where are my pills? So far, so good. The hematoma seems to have had no effect on the brain. Pills. I need... No. I can't... I cannot... I need pills.
Tem que tomar remédio. Boa.
We can rule the fatal accident out as well.
Aê, cara.
Brain is in good condition, so we have no choice
Caída.
but to proceed to the internal examination of the other organs. I grab a scalpel from my kit.
Agora vamos usar o bisturi.
The incision should be in the shape of a letter Y. We use a deep cut to reach all the way to the ribs and to penetrate the abdominal wall. All right, now we peel back and separate the skin.
Vai que não abre. Esse aqui não. Deixa eu ver o que dá pra fazer. Ah, com a mão. Cortar, serrinha. E agora? E agora, turma, o que a gente vai fazer?
It's been a while since the eye wash in this thing was changed. It's probably a health hazard now.
Com la mano libre. Quita los projetos de piel. Agora aqui é alguma coisa, agora eu não sei o que é.
Poor soul. I get cases like this more than any other. I wasn't sure it would amount to anything, but the World Wide Web has been a blessing for speeding up my work.
Vamos ver lá. O que vai querer? Tá, calma aí, turma.
Now, we need to
Ah,
remove the
pô.
ribs. We'll need the loppers for this.
Oi. Ah, entendi agora.
Quite a satisfying
Pronto,
crunch, for
consegui.
some anyway. After removing the cartilage tissue, we instantly noticed two things. Firstly, there is no congestion of the internal organs. This means that although the deceased was hypothermic, it didn't kill him. Secondly, the deceased smoked like a chimney. So, we should take a closer look at those lungs. We can see widespread black and tarry deposits caused by smoking cigarettes. Despite the tragic condition of the lungs, they are not the cause of death. Alice smoked too. It didn't kill her, but... what was I talking about? Lungs. Yes. Advanced inflammation.
Ó, negro. Álcool.
What now? The syringe. Now's a good time to collect some samples. It's been a while since the eyewash in this thing was changed. It's probably poor soul. I get cases like this more than any other. My old but trusted centrifuge. Ideal for all the fluid tests I need to perform during an autopsy. Specifically 3. From the 5 milliliters from the left ventricle should do it. Vitreous humor analysis is very useful in indicating long-term alcohol abuse. But from the bladder, we draw about 10 milliliters of fluid. Now we take our samples to the centrifuge. But before I do that, I need to find my notebook. My dyscalculia means that I always double-check the settings.
Aí, viu?
Please excuse me while I run and fetch it.
Como é que então? Acho que é aqui, né? Que nariz. Não, né? Não. Ali.
My old but trusted centrifuge. Ideal for all the poor soul. I get cases like this more than any other.
Tem a máquina pra isso.
It's been a while since the eyewash in this thing was changed. It's probably a health hazard now.
Ah, tá, peraí. Como é que oficina que eles querem que a gente vai? Então vou fazer o seguinte, galera. Então no próximo vídeo a gente continua, fechou? E é nóis. No próximo vídeo a gente continua fazendo aqui os exames. Valeu? É nóis e até o próximo vídeo. Falou e fui!